Sydney. How
Hi,
are you? It's
I'm
such a
here, Sophia.
pleasure.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure.
I'm Sophia Soto from the Nerds of Color. I'm a huge fan of your work, and you were phenomenal in this film. You should be so excited for it to come out.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. And so, first, I want to just start off by asking you what attracted you to the project in the first place?
So it's kind of a crazy story. I had originally not heard about this project at all. And I think they had been looking for this girl, and Rich Dealey, our casting director, read the script a long time ago, which of course it's adapted, into a screenplay by Henry Gayden, but the original novel was written by Stephanie Perkins. So I was in Hawaii at the time that I think they were trying to get me to read. So I came back. One of my friends went out for the part of Ollie. He didn't end up booking it, but he was like, "You would be perfect for Makani. You should tell your agents." I didn't tell my agents, but it just kind of happened. And I read the script and I really loved it. The story is awesome. I loved that the character is so strong, and it was a very big departure from the roles I had previously played. And I thought Stephanie Perkins did a great job with her book, and Henry also did a great job with the screenplay. So it just worked, and yeah, I thought it might be fun. And also Patrick Bryce being attached. I love his work, and he ended up being such an awesome person.
This is not your first time sort of doing a project based on a novel, but when you do those sort of projects, do you do certain types of research? Do you like to read the novel? Do you like to go in sort of blind to do your own take? What is your approach there?
I definitely like to do my own research and also talk amongst my peers. So me and the cast got really close. We filmed in Vancouver. We all stayed in the same apartment building, and we were really thorough with each other with how we felt about the project and how we all related to each other, and not just in our characters but to each other, off camera. So I really like to do that, and I think being an actress is a part of being a team player. You have to be able to collaborate and talk and pick each other's brains. And Patrick and Dan Cohen and Henry Gayden really opened up that door for all of us to make suggestions. So that was like that experience filming, the movie really set the bar for how I go into other projects, whether I'm the lead or not, and doing my research, reading the book, or I like to type up backgrounds of my own, with my character, or I'll create a playlist for my characters. And then that's what I listen to when I film.
Want to ask you also, obviously the horror genre is so popular right now, all those teen scary movies. Did you draw any inspiration from other performances that you might have seen, or a horror film that you were a fan of, anything like that? Any elements?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely, Makani is a very introverted character. She's passive. There's a deepness there. So she's not your typical scream queen, which I also really liked. But my birthday being on Halloween, I grew up in a household where it was just always in my face. And so as I learned to not be so afraid of the dark and gore and all of that, I got into movies like Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Scream with Nev Campbell, and everybody. It was just like that is such an amazing genre, because horror movies will always make you feel something, whether that's like repulsed or disturbed or happy at moments and then shocked. So I love even the old school ones like Rosemary's Baby and The Shining. And it's a very challenging genre to be in, because there's so many ways you can go with it.
Definitely. And you kind of hit on this next question already, but your character is definitely not the normal scream queen. She is a lot deeper than that. And I really enjoyed her background and her story. Is there something that specifically intrigued you about her that really made you be like, this is the role I want to play, like out of the entire cast of characters?
Well, the fact that Makani is originally from Hawaii, and I personally really love Hawaii. I love traveling there with my family. I go there and everybody thinks I'm a local. And that really hit home for me. And also that she's a poet. I write poetry. And I remember we were figuring out what we were going to include in the movie. And Henry had talked to various different, like, authors and writers and wanted to maybe get rights to their work. And then he was like, Sid, could you write up some poetry? And so I did. And it was just a very wonderful, like collaborative environment in that way. But definitely the fact that Hawaii is her background, and that, you know, she has these layers to her. She's had something traumatic happen to her that has happened to many people. You know, there are a lot of hazing accidents gone horribly wrong. And it happens, you know, especially to happen to such a young person. And then she's forced to carry herself in a different way. That really intrigued me. And it was a good challenge for me to play a character that was more subdued.
Going to give you the go ahead to just talk all the spoilers you want, because we're going to release this after. So you are totally good. I'm going to ask you a few questions and give me your spoilery answers.
Yes.
Which death was your favorite?
Oh my gosh. I would have to say Jackson's death was my favorite. And I absolutely love that sequence, because every time I watch it, and I've seen the film at least like 5 or 6 times now, I find a detail that I really enjoy about Mark Hyun's performance. Because he paid homage to like the classic 80s, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Nightmare on Elm Street energy. Like it's almost like we took him right out of the 80s and put him into his own sequence. And for him to be able to carry that scene all by himself, and you know, when we're filming, he's talking to himself. Like we have our first AD reading off camera, like all the lines, and he's reading it super flat, you know, and he has to be at this like certain level. And I just thought it was so creative. You know, you slit the Achilles tendon, it spins around. It was just like, it's cinematic masterpiece. And I know I'm kind of biased, but like Jeff Cutter, our DP, and Patrick's vision and his direction, it just all really works. And I love that death. I love it.
And how did you feel when you saw the finished product? I have to, you know, you had to be so proud of your work. And how are you feeling?
Thank you. I definitely was just over the moon. This was probably one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. And not only because the material is so good, and I was so proud of the fact that it felt like an indie movie with a budget, you know, like we had this creative freedom and it really showed. And it obviously, you know, it took a while to come out. We filmed this August 2019. So the anticipation was killing us. So when we all saw it and we watched it all live together on Zoom and Netflix recorded us, we were just like screaming. Thankfully I was on mute because I would have ruined the whole thing. I was screaming, I was yelling, I was like, you go, Rodrigo, like just going crazy. I mean, every time I see it, I love it. I really do. I love it.
That's the best. That's the best. I love that you guys all got to watch it together. It's the perfect film to like grab your friends and like have a good movie night. It's perfect.
It is.
And you know, what was your reaction to finding out who the killer was?
I really didn't see it coming, to be honest. Now, if I had put on I like to write as well. So if I had put on my writer's hat, maybe I would have. And I've watched it with a couple of my friends, and some of them knew midway, and then some of them were like, oh shit, I had no idea. I had no idea. That's crazy. But I think that's what's so special about this project is that we touch on microaggressions and big red flags, and how, you know, white people have this privilege, like the characters like Dale, who, you know, emphasize their privilege and can mask their darkness in other ways. Like, oh, he's just a stoner kid, or oh, he's a little like socially kind of off, when, you know, we're all pointing fingers at Ollie, who actually really did have something traumatic happen to him, and he had to dig his way out of his own hole, you know. And obviously, you know, his father, Skipper Sanford, is crazy. So that those genes like passed down. But I was shocked because, quite honestly, when I first read the script, I thought Makani was the killer. I thought maybe she had a split personality, or I don't know. I couldn't really tell.
You would have killed that. Oh my gosh, I would have loved that.
Thank you.
And it ended on a really nice note with graduation. I really liked that. What did you think that added to the film overall?
Well, There's Someone Inside Your House, to me, bends a lot of genres. It's a coming of age story, it's a psychological horror, it's an American horror story. It's also a love story, and it's a story about friendships, life, shortcomings, inadequacies. And I think what's so special is that that graduation ending really ties it all together, where you can see the sadness. They're missing their best friend. I had to kill my best friend. I had to watch people die, lots of change, like crazy traumatic change. And so when I did that speech, I wanted to make sure we saw all of that in her face, that it wasn't just like, oh, yay, now we're back to normal. Ha ha ha. No, it was like, wow, we made it. And look at that. And the other part about the film that I love is that, when Rodrigo dies, here we are and we see these group of friends mourning. And that's not something you really see often in horror films. You don't really see people mourning people's deaths, because especially nowadays where everything's so fast and it's bam, 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 So that was interesting, but I really loved the graduation scene, and we did film it towards the end of filming. So it worked.
And I have some fun little questions for you, of course. When
Yay.
you personally are watching a murder mystery or something where you have to guess the killer, what are the clues you're searching for?
People's eyes. The eyes will tell
Good
you
one.
everything. The eyes will tell you everything. I'm very intuitive, so I like to go off of energy, even if I'm wrong. But if someone's giving off a weird vibe, or you just know you don't trust them, and you can't really put your finger on it, but there's just something. And then you look at their face, and then you look back and you rewind a movie, you're like, oh, that makes sense. It's not so in your face all the time.
And then if you could take your character from this film and then put her in any other horror movie, scary movie, psychological thriller, anything of that genre, which would you pick and why?
That is a great question. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. I would probably put her in Insidious as Rose Byrne's character. And I know that goes hand in hand because James Wan, but James Wan, as we know, is the horror master. And I absolutely love Insidious. That's a movie I could watch over and over again. And I just love that layer of motherhood, and then trying to be a good wife, and being there for your children, and then taking care of a house that you're not familiar with. Like, I can see Makani in that role, almost even maybe with Theodore, like that Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne vibe, where we're grown now. But poor Rose, she was going through it. That'd be fun. That'd be really
fun. You would do good. Yeah, that would be awesome. And then I want to give you one last little fun question. If you could create either a tagline or a phrase to describe the film, what would you pick?
Everyone has a secret.
There we go. Love that. Perfect way to end the interview.
Everyone has a secret, because it's true, whether it's like big or small or sad or not. A lot of characters revealed in this movie. A lot of characters either open up or they die, or we see all these truths come to light. Everything done. Actually, can I change my answer?
You totally can.
Everything done in the dark comes to light.
That deserves all the praise.
Yes, thank you.
You killed that. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Sydney. It was such a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you again for taking the time, and huge congrats, really.
Thank you, Sophia. Pleasure's all mine. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Stay safe and have a great rest of your day, all right?
You too.
Thank you. Bye.